We are back and we are live. It is Fight IQ presented by RotoWire. Here to talk UFC 260, where we will crown the baddest man on the planet. The UFC World Heavyweight title on the line. The reigning, defending, often sometimes forgotten, undisputed champion of the world, Stipe Miocic, is the underdog again as he defends his crown against the Nigerian nightmare, Frankie Murder, Francis Ngannou. Welcome everyone to the show. I'm your host, the Daily Fantasy Sniper. With me, as always, to co-host, the analyst, the really important guys of this podcast. It is Chris Olsen. You can find him on Twitter at RealChrisOlsen. Also, Joe, who better known goes by Sun Tzu, also aka Rampage Jackson's new best friend. You should follow him on Twitter to go get that reference. As we're going to leave it at that, guys. Are you ready to crown the baddest man on the planet?
Sure. I am ready to watch the only fight of consequence on this card, which I think is pretty special. You know, there are some interesting fights, particularly DFS-related fights. But as far as any fights that have, you know, weight in the division now or in the larger organization, I think that's the only one. And what a fight for it. We'll get to it, I'm sure, but you know, you're just going to be tension-filled for as long as it's on the feet, and I'm ready for it. I mean, I think personally there's only one way to pick it, but it's going to be interesting nonetheless. But, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Joe, you're coming off a big week. How you doing, buddy?
Wow, that was a long preamble. Yeah, I think there is look, yes, we lost the co-main event. We lost the title fight. We had some prelims, some issues with the prelims. We got a 10-fight card. Let's keep our fingers crossed, keep it at 10 fights. There's some interesting spots on this card. I mean, I think there's enough variance to make it playable on DraftKings. So let's get forward and crown Ngannou.
Really?
I have an interesting take on that one. There's an interesting DFS take to that fight, but we'll save that for the co-main event. Before we dig into these fights, make sure you go to rotowire.com/free for a 10-day free trial to all their premium content. No credit card required. Make sure you like this video, comment if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe on YouTube to the RotoWire YouTube channel, or subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, RotoWire MMA. It's fight time. First fight up, Marc-André Barriault, 8,200, taking on Azaitar at 8,000. The line on this fight, Barriault is the favorite at -125. Comeback on Azaitar is +105. This fight, you know, we say fighters are boom or bust. I feel this whole fight is boom or bust. Joe, we'll start with you this week. Who you got?
Barriault has been a major disappointment since getting to the UFC. 3 L's and then a win, which got overturned due to popping USADA. And then we've got Azaitar, who's the brother of the potato handler. And he hasn't fought in a number of years, I guess 4, at which he beat Vito Miranda, who was on his way out of the UFC. So what do you do here? I guess, you know, do you go with the fighter who hasn't fought, hoping that he's maybe made some improvements? Or do you go with the guy that only looked good on PEDs? I'm going to lean towards the cheaper fighter here, which is Azaitar. It's not a strong endorsement, but I'm going to lean in that direction, and I guess keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, for me, this fight is both these guys are aggressive, swing wild hooks, and one could knock out the other quickly. And if they don't, so both guys are live to, honestly, the 60-second bonus. But if we don't get a first-round knockout, I think we're going to see 3 disgusting rounds of the winner scores total crap. I lean towards Azaitar just because I think he's more likely to get that knockout. So I think he's the better DK play. But again, not a strong take. I'll mix in this fight. Chris, how about for you?
Yeah, I'm a little stronger on Barriault. Stronger than you guys are on Azaitar. I think that what we saw in Azaitar in that Miranda fight didn't really impress me all that much. I mean, it's good that he goes to the body, but he's way more wild and not quite as fast as his brother. So I think, like, you see those big looping punches, and we'll talk about big looping punches later too, and you might go, wow, he throws really hard. Why doesn't why aren't these shots having more effect? And I think it's because, you can see the shots coming. I mean, it reminds me of, our favorite light heavyweight, Khadis Ibragimov, who just recently got cut. I mean, throws really hard and it looks good, but they're so big and loopy that, you can see them, and the shots you don't see coming are the ones that hurt you. So the reason I think Barriault plays a little better here is he can make fights kind of grueling and sort of sap cardio and use his wrestling. We saw him get into a lot of clinches with Christophe Jacot. And Vitor Miranda grounded Azaitar twice, mounted him twice. Azaitar did his best Derek Lewis impression and just was able to kind of bump out of there. Barriault is big and physical, and I think more physicality than Vitor Miranda. So I like him to hold positions if he can get them. I think takedowns and control time could be a big part of this fight, if not to outright score, then using those controls to somebody's phone is going off. Unprofessional, folks. But I think that he could at least use it to tire Azaitar out, who's going to be throwing the big shots anyway. I think Barriault has a chance to score pretty well here. He's got the big uppercuts he can use. I think he's the more accurate striker, the more well put together striker as far as form, and I just like him a little more here. Either one can get a knockout, as you said, Shaun, but I think if you want to talk who's going to be the more consistent scorer here and who can put up a big score, I think it could be Barriault. So that's where I'm going.
All right, next fight up, we have Omar Morales at 8,700 taking on Shane Young at 7,500. The line on this fight, Morales is minus 190, Shane Young plus 175. This fight is the fight that was on, and then it was off, and now it's back on again. And please let this stay on just because we need another fight. Not because I think this fight is really good for DraftKings. For me, Shane Young is a live underdog, but I'm still taking Omar Morales to win a striking-based decision. I don't think this is going to be a great fight. That's why I went first in this one, because I'm pretty much done with my breakdown for it. Chris, dig in a little further.
Yeah, I actually like a lot of what Shane Young does in the cage. He's got a high-pressure boxing style, goes to the body a lot. He can mix in some takedowns too, which we saw in one of his fights. I forget which now, but rest assured he did use – I think it was it came to me and then I lost it. That's okay. Anyway, he can use wrestling, but generally likes that high-pressure boxing style. Problem is that his hands are generally very low, and that caused the head kick. Well, it was a head kick and then an uppercut to follow, because when he exited from the clinch, he had his hands down and got caught. Morales punches and kicks very hard, especially on the counter. And Shane Young's style is kind of built to kind of do that touch and then power shot kind of thing. So he's not going to be throwing with power all the time in the same way Morales is. I think Morales can catch him. This is a weird fight for me, because I totally acknowledge that a likely scenario here is Shane Young getting knocked out, but I'm still going to pick him just because I like his style a little bit better. And I think that he has a chance to be the better DraftKings score, especially at his price, if he can get his game going, as opposed to Morales, who's just going to throw some heavy power shots. Shane Young really has to do what he didn't do in the Luque Klein fight, which is really crowd Morales here. If he doesn't, he's going to eat another head kick, and that's going to be the end of it. But I'm going to pick Young to get his game going and rack up some points maybe on DK.
Joe.
Okay, so I'll be quick here. I like a lot of what Shane Young has done as well. In particular, the way he got laid out by Ludwig Klein. I think that Morales is the pick here, but also in terms of DraftKings, you are not going to make optimal with a decision in this fight. You need Morales to get the knockout. So if you do play Morales, you are in fact looking for the finish, which can certainly happen. I mean, we've seen an epic knockout by the courtesy of Ludwig Klein on Shane Young. I don't know if Morales hits quite that hard, but the pick is Morales here. Cautionary play for DraftKings. I think a pretty solid bet, though. I definitely like him as a bet, but DraftKings, you're playing the knockout.
All right, next fight up, I'm going to talk Michał Oleksiejczuk at 8,500, taking on Modestas Bukauskas.
Yeah, please watch your
Bukauskas. Also, I wish his nickname would be Bukaki. Just lean into it. Anyway, plus then you got to hear Bruce Buffer say that shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, Oleksiejczuk minus 165, Bukauskas plus 155. To me, this is power against speed. Joe, who you got?
Yeah, it's interesting because I did a pod earlier this week with MMA Kelton, and Kelton had a debate with Bro Picks came on, and Kelton debated them. They each had like 3-unit plays on opposite sides of this fight, and I don't know if I did a very good job of breaking the tie. I think I'm going to go with the poll here. And not for obvious reasons.
Of course you would.
Yeah, I do think he's got a speed advantage. This could be a really ugly fight. I mean, Bukauskas, definitely knows how to use a razor. The guy's as clean shaven as any fighter I've seen. But aside from that, I just don't know that he's very good. I mean, he's coached by his dad. It was an interesting that Michailidis fight was really interesting. I don't think I've ever seen anyone fall through a cage door when it opened up, but that was real interesting. And he got the win there. So I'm going to go with Michailidis. I think he's not Michailidis. I'm going to go with the poll, Michał. I think he's better, has faced better competition, is a better overall fighter, and has a speed advantage.
Chris, how about for you?
Yeah, I am. I'm gonna go with Lord Michał, as I'll call him this week. Oop, wrong button.
Ryan Barton.
I think I like a lot of what he's done too. I think he's got speed, but power as well, and I think a lot of that is generated through the body shots. He, of course, landed the big body shot on what used to be light heavyweight, now heavyweight, John Vellante, and also landed a big body shot and a lot of good strikes on Ovince St. Preux before St. Preux took him down and subbed him. Jimmy Crute also took him down and subbed him, but Bukauskas is not a dedicated wrestler. I mean, if I've seen him shoot once or twice, I think that's a lot. He certainly didn't do it in Cage Warriors, where most of his career was basically people trying to take him down and then him getting back up and finishing them. I mean, he's a 1-2 leg kick, rangy fighter, uses it pretty well, but also can throw those naked leg kicks, and that's why he was getting caught over and over again by Jimmy Crute. I second Joe. I just don't think he's that good. I think Michał is pretty good. I think that even in the fights he's lost, he's looked pretty good. Jimmy Crute had to shoot for his life over and over again to make sure that he wasn't involved in that storm. And I just don't think Bukauskas is going to be nearly as committed to the wrestling, and I don't think he's as deep of a striker at all. So my pick is Oleksiejczuk, and I like him quite a bit here, actually.
Yeah, I'm on Oleksiejczuk as well. I think he's got multiple paths to victory. I think he could get a takedown. He could get takedowns in this one if he wants them. Smaller guy, but I think speed advantage will be big. I don't think Bukauskas is good enough at using his range. I think he's kind of KO or bust. So give me Michał. I think his price, he doesn't actually need a finish. I think he'll have enough. If he wins, I think he'll have enough volume to score decent. But I think he's got ceiling potential as well. As I'm kind of with Joe. I'm not sold on how good Bukauskas is. The Michailidis fight Michailidis was winning that fight until the end when he got clipped. So give me Lord Michał. I can't say your name. Oleksiejczuk. I can say better. Next fight up. Abubakar Nurmagomedov taking on Jared Gooden. Nurmagomedov 9,000. Gooden is 7,200. Line on this fight. Nurmagomedov minus 240. Gooden is plus 200. Probably the weakest of the Nurmagomedovs. Going to look to grapple. Gooden will be the better striker, so it's pretty classic striker versus grappler. I think who's up first for this one? Help me out, Chris. I think you're up first.
Yeah, why not? I like Gooden quite a bit here. I don't understand why Abubakar would be quite as big a favorite as this. I think
have you seen Gooden stop a takedown?
Well, I mean, I haven't really seen Abubakar, go for takedowns over and over again in the style of say a Khabib. He's very comfortable on his feet. Now, of course, he did go right for a takedown in the Zawada fight. I mean,
we just saw he got subbed, but yeah, we saw it.
He got subbed, and that's a theme for him. He also got subbed by in another fight in LFA. In fact, he's 1-2-1 in his last 4, which is another curious reason for a big favorite here. I just don't think he's comfortable in dealing with submission attempts. In his fight with Jonathan Weston in LFA, he had to give up position fighting off of Kimura. And, the fight, his last loss by sub, not Zawada, but the one in LFA, was a club and sub where he ducked into an uppercut first. So I think he uses trunk movement a little bit too much. I think he relies on it too much. And Gooden is a guy whose game I like a lot on the feet. He kind of reminds me of old Justin Gaethje, where he's just going to walk you down and keep coming and hope that you break. I do think that because Abubakar is really good at reactive takedowns, so I think that with Gooden constantly wading in, that's a concern. But again, Gooden has 6 subs on his record. He's not lost on the ground. He's got some guillotines in there. So it would be interesting to see what happens if this fight does hit the ground. I am not going to bank on just constant takedowns from Abubakar. I think that Gooden takes this, and I think he can maybe knock him out too. So
Calling for the upset. I have Nurmagomedov. I think he'll get the takedowns. I do think if he doesn't get them, Gooden is the much better striker and will probably piece him up standing up. And was live to a finish. He has to get the takedowns. I think he will, but I don't hate Gooden as a dog play, especially in GPPs. So, but I am on the favorite. So Joe, break the tie.
Yeah. So didn't he need some help making weight today? I know he cuts a lot.
2 tries. Yes.
Yeah. Look, I'm going to pick Nurmagomedov, and not because he's going to have Khabib in his corner. I do think he'll be able to get Gooden down and control him. Obviously, it was an embarrassment, the last fight. I mean, he was dominating it. And then David Zawada, got subbed by David Zawada, of all people. I do believe, though, that Night Train, I'm kind of coming around on the Night Train as a live dog, though. And I think, we should all have some shares of him in DraftKings, but I'm going to go out and pick Nurmagomedov.
All right, next fight up, we're going to talk about Alonzo Menifield, 8,100. He was scheduled to fight William Knight, and that's when he was priced. Knight pulls out. Fabio Cherant is the replacement. He is 7,000. So Alonzo Menifield, 8,100, is minus 300 in this fight. Comeback on Cherant is plus 270. I'm going to keep my mouth shut to start this one. Joe, start us off.
Yeah, this is pretty easy. I mean, all the line value is on Menifield. He's going to be the highest owned fighter on DraftKings. Minus 290. He's got the largest inside the distance prop. On the slate, 8.1K. He's going to be really highly owned. That does not mean he doesn't come without some level of risk. I was listening to, Pete the Heat Rogers over at the Competitor, and he knows this fighter. He's trained with him. Said he's been working on his striking. It's funny because he's got some submissions, but he's not a super good wrestler. If you watch some film on him, and again, he had, he's taking this fight on 3 days' notice. Trains in Boston, Camp Lozon.
Missed weight by a half pound.
Yeah, I missed weight by a half pound, but I'm still going to need to go with Menifield here. I think he's got the edge in class. I think he's had some embarrassing fights himself recently that hopefully his camp has straightened him out on, and this is really a good spot for him. I mean, he's fighting a short notice guy. I actually was the other way when he was fighting Knight. I like Knight quite a bit, actually. But in this fight, I think, I think he will have the edge and all the metrics in terms of odds value and, inside the distance go to Menifield. So I'm going to pick Menifield.
Chris?
So that's interesting because now I kind of want that fight because I didn't like Knight at all. I thought Menifield was going to run him over, but as far as this fight,
I don't know how you can think Menifield's going to run over anybody.
what do you mean? That's the only way he wins. How else does he win? I mean, so far, I mean, granted, he's fought guys.
I know, but to project he's just going to run over people is. Go
Well,
ahead. I'm going last in this fight. I'm going to go last.
All right. I mean, we can have a sidebar conversation on William Knight, but I think that as far as this fight goes, Cherant is sort of he'll do different things depending on his opponent. I've seen him sort of fight with his back to the cage. I think in his most recent 2 fights, if I'm not mistaken, a la Tyron Woodley, who we'll talk about later. I've seen him go for takedowns. To Joe's point, he just sort of got he sort of wrapped up the next standing and got a sub in one of his fights. So he's capable of doing a lot of different things. I think in this fight, Menifield, he will cede the pressure to Menifield, who always comes forward, and I think Menifield is just going to be to push a pace that he can't really handle. Now, obviously, Menifield got really tired in that fight against Devin Clark, but he was still fighting. He was dead tired, but he was still landing some good shots into rounds 2 and 3. So I don't think we have to worry that it's a situation where, like, okay, he's got a round of cardio and then he's going to stop fighting. I think even if this fight extends, he's going to be live for it. I just think Cherant is going to give Menifield the fight he wants. And I think even if Cherant does go for takedowns, it's not as though Menifield is an easy takedown. Devin Clark had to work very hard, and I doubt his wrestling is quite as good, Cherant's that is, as Devin Clark. So, yeah, I think a little recent history might push people to say, well, Menifield's not very good, but he's still a terrifying force in the cage, at least for a few minutes, and I think that's pretty much all he's going to need here. So the pick is Menifield.
Yeah, let's talk about why Alonzo Menifield is minus 300 and how that is terrifying. His UFC wins are Paul Craig and Vinicius Moreira. Ooh, I'm so scared. And then he beat Daniel Jolly and Deshaun Boatwright on the Contender Series. Again, just a murderer's row. Look,
Paul Craig, you're talking about the only guy to beat Magomed and Ankalaev, by the way.
Oh God, that's a whole other thing. All right. I'm not saying Fabio Cherant is great, but he is a legit prospect. He is now the LFA 205-pound champion. Yes, he was on the Contender Series, and he was knocked out by Alexa Kamer. Again, that was his 5th pro fight. He was 24, and I rewatched that fight, and he had Kamer hurt. And as he goes to close the distance, he gets a little reckless, and Kamer hits a flying knee, which was pretty nice. It's not that. Look, I'm not saying don't play Menifield. I'm saying Menifield as the chalk on DK at 60% ownership on a 10-fight card is horrendously scary, especially if he doesn't get the quick knockout. Like, he might not hit the optimal at 8,100. He has to get the finish in the first round. I think Cherant is live. I've seen Cherant shoot takedowns. I've seen him. He's a decent counter striker. I don't know what style he's going to come out with, especially with the missed weight and short notice. If he decides I need to go get a knockout and stand and trade, then it's probably Menifield's fight. My approach to this, I think Fabio Cherant is a very live underdog, and you got Alonzo Menifield, who's going to be the uber chalk. I can be overweight on both guys, and that's the approach I like here. I'm taking Fabio Cherant to win because I think he's a little more well-rounded than Alonzo Menifield, who everybody's going to be on. Minus 300 on Alonzo Menifield. I'll never play him at that price. Just no thanks. So in DFS, I'm still playing Alonzo Menifield, but I'll be overweight too because I don't want it to totally burn me. I can't have that happen. But I'll be overweight to Fabio Cherant, and he will be my pick to win. He's going to be like 10% owned, best case scenario. So it doesn't take a lot to get leverage. Next fight up, we're going to talk Khama Worthy at 8,600, taking on Jamie Mullarkey at 7,600. Worthy is the favorite for now. I think this fight may flip by the time fight day gets here. Right now, Worthy is minus 120. Mullarkey is plus 110. Mullarkey will be the most popular underdog on the card, and I'm picking him to win as well. But for the fight breakdown, we will start with Chris for this
I
one.
think it's me, yeah. And I am ecstatic to hear you say that. You guys often have your fingers on the pulse of things like where the ownership is going to be at a better clip than I do. And so I'm glad at that because I like Khama Worthy a little bit here. I think this is we don't talk about FanDuel too much, but I mean, if you look at Jamie Mullarkey, he shot something like I have it in my article, but it's something like 34 times in his 2 fights. So I mean, if he stuffs even half of those, which is way more than he's gotten before, I think he's at about 30%. Then Khama Worthy is going to pile up the points on those takedowns and defense. But as far as the breakdown itself, I just think that, look, the first thing that I should say is that Khama Worthy doesn't have great takedown defense either. But I think that number one is that I think Khama Worthy is going to be the stronger guy, the more physical guy, so that should help him. Second thing is that we have seen Jamie Mullarkey get out scrambled in fights before, in the Brad Riddell fight certainly. And we've seen that Khama Worthy is pretty good off his back. He survived the fight against Luis Pena until he found that choke. On the feet, Jamie Mullarkey offers almost nothing. He paws with a jab and he throws a low kick, and he gets hit very, very hard. If Khama Worthy hits him in the same way that Brad Riddell did, I think he's going to go to sleep. Khama Worthy is a hair trigger counter striker. And I think that Jamie Mullarkey can throw something like a lazy jab out there and just get absolutely blasted. In fact, I'm counting on it. I think that maybe he won't stuff all of them, but I think he'll be able to get back to his feet and stuff enough takedowns where the knockout is going to present itself and it's going to materialize. So I'm taking Khama Worthy.
By the way, Brad Riddell hits fucking hard.
He hits hard, but he's not
like Khama Worthy's got power, but like where he caught Devontae Smith, not that he doesn't have power, but I wouldn't. Riddell could knock out Mullarkey. I'm not so quick to think Khama Worthy can do it.
What I will say too is that the third round, all intents and purposes, that fight should have been stopped in. So I mean that was a stoppage win from Riddell. I think we can agree on that. But yeah, I mean it's a matter of debate. Put it in chat. That could be a fun thing. But I think that Khama Worthy is the harder hitter of the two.
You guys in chat, who hits harder, Brad Riddell or Khama Worthy? I like Mullarkey. I think he'll get enough takedowns. I think Worthy's a little bit hypey in terms of just the knockouts kind of drive up lines. I think the smart money's coming to Mullarkey. I think the line should have been flipped. And then I'd be more interested in Khama Worthy, but at this price tag, I think Mullarkey makes for the much more interesting DK play, and Worthy just some shots in GPP. Joe, how do you have it?
I think you're talking some Mullarkey.
Nice.
Joe?
So I think actually Mullarkey will be the second most popular favorite dog. I'm sorry, second most popular dog on DK after Gillian Robinson. But I'm going to lean Mullarkey here too. I mean, that last fight by Khama was not a great fight. Mullarkey has a solid floor. Riddell does hit hard, beat the living crap out of him. I don't think either one of these guys are long for the UFC. I think Khama Worthy had his moment in the sun. I think Mullarkey is probably average to the middle of the road, lunch pail type fighter. I think this is a decent spot for him. Look, Khama has shown he's got some jiu-jitsu. You just don't know how Khama is going to win or what kind of fight he's going to fight. It's not a super ringing endorsement, but I do lean Mullarkey here, and I will take the dog.
Well, we got 2 votes, and I think the voting is closed. That settles it. 2-0. Worthy hits harder. Okay, let's move on.
Oh boy, Miranda Maverick 8,800 taking on Gillian Robertson at 7,400. Line on this fight, Maverick is -157. The comeback on Robertson is +147. Both these gals want to grapple, or Maverick really wants to wrestle. She'll be the better wrestler. Robertson the better grappler. Neither one's a very good striker, but I would give the edge to Maverick, especially in terms of power. She's going to be the stronger fighter. I think Robertson can get a sweep from the bottom. And I'm picking Robertson because for that reason, I think she can end up on top. But the more I look at this, the more I'm starting to get a little antsy because, I've always picked Gillian Robertson. She's for whatever reason, just somebody I like to watch fight. I like the style. So I got sirens behind me. Don't know if you can hear that.
Yep.
And the more I look at it, Miranda Maverick, though, the strength and the wrestling, the top control wrestling, I'm getting more and more concerned. And I like her a little bit on DraftKings. 'Cause like Joe said, I think most people are going to be in Robertson. I don't think Maverick's going to be very high owned. And we've seen what control time can do. And we've seen how little Gillian Robertson likes to be hit. So I'm going to pick Gillian Robertson, but I'm coming around to more shares of Miranda Maverick. This fight is, oh, good. The Chick Whisperer. Joe, we got.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I like Miranda Maverick a lot. However, I would need to see some big advancements in takedown defense versus, say, her fight against Pearl Gonzalez and Invicta. Gonzalez was able to take her down with relative ease. If I was Miranda, what I would do here is I would try to fight at range. I would not look to take down Gillian myself because Gillian is not a wrestler, so she doesn't go for single legs or double legs. She goes for trips and throws up against the cage in the clinch. I do think Maverick will have a strength advantage here. There's definitely a path to victory for both fighters. I am going to take a slight lean to the underdog here in Gillian Robertson.
Chris, who you got?
So I think I think we're all in agreement, I think if you acknowledge that there's a strength advantage, I think that points pretty strongly to Maverick because we've already seen what somebody can do to Gillian Robertson when they have a strength advantage in Talia Santos, who basically got her down and held her there for the better part of 15 minutes. I think it's not just the strength, but the jiu-jitsu also, and the scrambling ability on the ground. We know Robertson has that. So, I mean, I agree there is a strength advantage, and I think that the women who have taken Maverick down, like Pearl Gonzalez and Deanna Bennett, I think they're more physically strong than Robertson as well. So Maverick avenging that loss to Deanna Bennett, by the way, where she didn't get her down in that fight, which I thought was encouraging. But yeah, that's pretty much the crux of it for me. And if they do stand, which I don't think they will, I think that Maverick has a pretty concerted advantage there. But I think Robertson might be the initial one to go for takedowns, but I think that could backfire on her pretty quickly. And I do think Maverick's best path, or maybe that's wishful thinking, maybe because it's the most profitable DK path, but I do think that she'll be able to control her on the ground if the fight gets there. So my pick is Maverick.
All right. Next fight up. Shaun O'Malley, 9,200, taking on Thomas Almeida at 7,000. Line on this fight, O'Malley's minus 305, Almeida's plus 275. Really interesting fight here because O'Malley, I think, is the longer. I think he's the better striker at this point. He's just fragile. You hit him with a leg kick and the dude crumbles. And I know Almeida knows it. He's not a dumb fighter. He may be old. Fight old, I should say. He's only 29, but Almeida's fight old at this point. Let's be honest. You would think technically O'Malley can win, can get a finish of Almeida, but he's also more likely to win a decision. I don't trust Shaun O'Malley. The good thing is that the pricing isn't tight on this card. You can pretty much play whoever you want, especially with Menifield in the middle. I'll have some shares, but I'm really worried about this fight on both sides. I think this is a terrible cash card for the reason we'll talk about Vicente Luque later. We'll talk about Shaun O'Malley. The pay-up options make me squirmy. I'm going to take Shaun O'Malley, but I'm real worried. And look, Thomas Almeida is alive to a first-round leg kick knockout, 100%. So I plan on being overweight to Almeida. And I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Shaun O'Malley yet. I'm going to see how builds go, quite honestly. I think if I can put him in and it's leaving money on the table still, I'll do it. But I'm not making a $50,000 square lineup with Shaun O'Malley in it. It just doesn't seem right. Unless my optimizer spits it in there. But if I'm hand building, I'm not doing it for sure. Chris, who do you got?
Yeah, I think you hit on the concern for Shaun O'Malley, which is just the fragility. I mean,
Wait. I'm sorry, I forgot one other thing. He's mentally out of his goddamn mind.
Yeah,
that has to be said in any introduction for Shaun O'Malley forever.
Well, I mean, he's a jerk face for sure. I would like him.
Take my undefeated record. You're a
Yeah.
Dumbass.
I would like him to lose. I don't think it's going to happen, but I will say that the fragility is a question, not just the Chito Vera fight, but you go back and watch that Sukumta fight. It's not like that kick hit Sukumta in the elbow. It hit him sort of up on the forearm hand area, and it still shattered his shin or whatever it did to it. So maybe he's just fragile. Maybe he needs to drink more milk. I don't know what the answer is, but in any event, that is concerning, especially with like one of the areas where I think Sean O'Malley's gotten a lot better is I think if you go back really early in his UFC career, like Terrion Ware had a lot of success. I think it was in that second round of that fight, just by pressuring O'Malley backward, and I think he's rectified that a little bit just by really always staying on the balls of his feet and moving around a lot, having a lot of lateral movement. Early, he was much more willing to just sort of plant and throw, and now he's constantly moving, which I think is good for him. But it also, I mean, how's he going to move around? Maybe he takes another bad step, and who knows? I mean, so that's got to be in the back of your mind somewhere. But as far as the breakdown of the fight, I mean, O'Malley just got crushed trying to wait his way inside on Jonathan Martinez. He's going to have a way more ground to cover trying to come in for Sean O'Malley here. I think he's just going to get lit on fire on the way in. I think he's going to get knocked out in this fight. I would like it. I would like to be wrong, but I think the style is bad here. I think Thomas Almeida coming back on the long layoff looked pretty bad against Martinez, and I can't trust him here, especially against the more rangy fighter. So I'm going Sean O'Malley.
Joe, who you got?
I have O'Malley by finish. I think O'Malley's more live to a first round finish than Almeida. Look, I think Almeida's game is to avoid punishment, or I should say path to victory, not game, is to avoid punishment and work the leg kicks. So I see Almeida more. I see his path to victory as more wearing Sean O'Malley down than actually getting a quick KO. And that's his path to victory. However, to Sean's point, to Chris's point, smaller octagon. I like O'Malley bum rushing Almeida and getting the quick finish. Almeida has really deteriorated since, look at his record in hindsight. His opponents are not all that good. He's lost pretty much every step up opportunity he's taken. So give me Sean O'Malley here to get the early finish.
I want to address what Tajik said. Uncle Chael is also undefeated, and Uncle Chael is one of my favorite fighters, but Uncle Chael is clearly shtick. Like, I think O'Malley's he's not right.
Yeah, no, he's not kidding. He thinks
something is not right. So anyway, next fight up, co-main event time. Vicente Luque 9,100 taking on Tyron Woodley at 7,100. Luque is the favorite, minus 230. Comeback on Tyron is plus 210. The former welterweight champion, the now rapper, Tyron Woodley, stepped down in competition. Vicente Luque can be hit, but not a lot of activity, not a lot of wrestling. It's hard to judge Tyron Woodley and what he is. I'm going to take Luque here, but it's an interesting one in terms of DK. I don't have a strong read of how this fight's going to go. I actually think it's more likely Luque wins decision or a late finish, and this fight's not going to score great because that's just what Tyron Woodley does. So, I mean, I'm picking Luque, but I actually don't. This is the first Luque fight in a while I don't love for DK. Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so I have Luque as well. I mean, look, I don't know how shot Tyron Woodley is. Yes, this is a step down in competition off of Colby Covington, Gilbert Burns, and Kamaru Usman. He's not fighting a chain wrestler. He's fighting a striker. However, he is fighting a striker that's pretty accomplished at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So if, God forbid, Woodley does decide to use his wrestling and does get down, Luque. Luque has got a shot to sub him. We've seen Woodley get subbed before. I obviously, if it stays standing, I like Luque, the volume and the sheer determination. But he has been hurt before, and if Woodley is not totally shot, can he land a big punch? Sure. But Luque has been a money machine for me. He's only lost to a very crafty Sugar, Wonder Boy Thompson. So I like Luque here. I mean, again, would I be surprised if Woodley was able to pull something out? No, but I've just not had any encouraging signs of what Woodley can do since the Darren Till fight. And Till is far worse on the ground. Till has got essentially no ground game, and he had a really bad weight cut going into that fight as well. So I hate Darren Till, and I was all on Woodley in that fight, but give me Luque here.
Chris, who you got?
Yeah, I think first I think I'm going to check something here. I don't believe you might be referring to the Colby Covington fight, but I don't think that was ruled a sub. I think it was KO rib injury, so I don't think
could be
been sub. Yeah.
Yep.
And before you go into your breakdown test account, which is clearly somebody on, I don't know what that is on YouTube, who manhandles T Wood isn't a high level wrestler. Who has he fought recently that hasn't been one? That's who's in front of him, and who hasn't hit Luque with a big shot?
Everybody.
Yeah. Here's the thing: Tyron Woodley's got to throw a big shot. He has thrown like no strikes. Like he knows he's fist fighting, right?
I'm not sure. He might have
aware?
forgotten.
So
no, you're right. Look, Luque has taken damage from Barbarina. He's taken damage from Price, but he's always come back. And Woodley has not been in a striking affair since Crocs were cool.
He's live to a knockout, sure, but I hate relying on that. I hate when guys are KO or bust. So yeah, I'll have some shares, 10 fight card, and he could land a big shot, but
yep.
I don't know. I'm 38-year-old welterweights. No thanks. Sorry, Chris. Go ahead.
No problem. And I hope whatever you're testing goes well there, my friend. Thank you for the question, or the comment, question and comment. But I think that I don't think those comparisons really work, just because all those fighters are way more active. They put their shots together, so it's a lot more to process. Having said that, I do think this is the livest Woodley's been in a while. Luque is going to come at him in straight lines, and if he wants to land a big shot, I think it's going to be there for him. But what we've seen a lot lately, I think, is Woodley just kind of getting scared off when these guys hit him. Like we saw him take a big shot early in the Gilbert Burns fight, and then sort of go into the shell. And we even saw Covington hit him with a big shot when he tried to come forward on him. It's impossible to know what you're going to get from Tyron Woodley these days. And it's impossible to, I see people betting him on Twitter and stuff, and I just think, okay, I like to play roulette, I guess, spin the wheel. I don't like playing the money wheel, which might be more akin to this, because you really don't know what you're going to get. As I said, if you could trust Woodley to wrestle, I'd like that better, but you really couldn't. I don't think you can. And I think this is going to be a bust-out fight as well, I have to say. Woodley controls pace very well. And to Test Account's point there, all those wins have been wrestlers, and all those big scores have been wrestle and takedown-oriented. I don't think Luque is going to do that. I think Luque is going to hit him with enough shots, probably a couple of big shots in there, but I think Woodley can weather it. But I do think this is Vicente Luque's fight. So he's the pick.
Main event time. Let's talk Francis Ngannou, -135. Stipe Miocic, who won this fight the first time, is still the underdog this time. I'm going to stare at Chris as he talks. There we go. Gotta look at my face right now. +125 for Stipe Miocic. Interesting things here. So Francis Ngannou to win in round 1, +225. It's actually down to +165. So that line's falling. I bet that at +225 because it seemed wrong. Look, we all know the breakdown for this fight. Ngannou by KO. Stipe is going to try and grapple him and keep him off him. So what's interesting is, obviously I don't think you can stack this fight for cash. I think it's a pretty 50-50 fight. I lean towards Ngannou. I think he'll land the big shot. In terms of DraftKings, though, this to me is actually not an all-in fight. There's a very real possibility, at least to me, that Stipe gets a takedown round 1, maybe even round 2, but let's just say just out of round 1, and Ngannou knocks it out with the first shot he lands in round 2. That's 80 points. on this card, there's a lot of upside here. I don't think that's enough. I think in the event Stipe wins, I think he's 100% on the optimal. Like whatever percentage chance you give Stipe of winning this fight, play at least that much of him on DK. Ngannou, I'm bumping it down a little bit for the reason I just mentioned, that path to victory. And while I'm picking Ngannou, he's going to be more popular. Like he's going to be way more popular. And I kind of want to shy away from that a little bit. Like, so I'm picking Ngannou. I'm probably going to play more Stipe because I think he's more likely to end up on the optimal, and he's going to be less owned and trying to tie with less people. So that's my logic on the fight. I think eventually Ngannou will land the knockout blow. And for my betting account, if it's in the first round, it's a way to hedge off DFS because I'm going to be a little bit underweight. I'll have plenty of live lineups with Ngannou in them, but I'll be under his 60% ownership for sure. But the first round knockout, I'll cash the bet. I'll be fine. Chris, start us off for the main event.
Yeah, so I understand, obviously, people wanting to play Ngannou because of the knockout power. I don't quite get picking him to win the fight. I just think that Stipe has so many more advantages, not just the grappling, but the thing about the first fight is Stipe is the more technical boxer. He's got better footwork. If you look at that first round, 47 of 62 significant strikes Stipe Miocic missed on. So he's swinging big and wild. And it's funny.
You mean Ngannou missed?
Yeah. Did I say Stipe?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So Ngannou missed 47 to 62. You know, it's funny. I've watched a couple of things this week that have tried to posit that, like, oh, Ngannou has improved. I don't buy it. I'm willing to say that he's not the because nobody is, the manic guy who just came out and swung the most wild combination you've ever seen in your life and somehow ended up touching the chin of Jair Rozenstruik. But he's still, I mean, when he's not going wild, like in that fight, in the Stipe fight, all of his knockouts are based on his opponent making a mistake. Like if you look at the Junior Dos Santos fight, he throws that big overhand right and throws himself off balance. Stipe counters. Same thing with the second Curtis Blades fight. So I just think that there's not a lot of depth to what Francis Ngannou does. Not going any bulletins there, but the thing I love about Stipe for this fight is he's really composed. He saw all those shots coming. That's not to say that a couple didn't hit them because they did. I mean, I think the punch that Stipe really has to watch out for in this fight is the uppercut. He got hit with quite a few clean uppercuts, ducking underneath the jab. But it was also the jab that really hurt Ngannou because Stipe used it to pull back and land a couple of good shots there. So I just think Stipe has way too many advantages here. He got 141 points in the last fight and somehow is the underdog. That to me tells me I got to play him more. So I will be doing it. I'll probably be underweight to Ngannou just because I don't – I mean, in theory, the chance is there, but in practice, I mean, Stipe is going to have to fight, be on his P's and Q's all fight. No hesitation about that. But I think he can do it. He's already done it once. And I wouldn't be surprised if this time it looks a little bit cleaner, to be honest. So my pick is Stipe Miocic.
Joe, who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to go back to the well with Ngannou in this fight. And look, I'm going to have a lot of shares of Stipe. Don't kid yourself on DraftKings. The fact that, Stipe weighed in 29 pounds less than Ngannou and also less than in his last fight, I don't know what he was thinking. Ngannou always looks good. That doesn't matter. I hear he's been wrestling a lot. The things I'm hearing coming out of camp are good. Hearing that no matter who he's training to fight against, he always devotes part of every camp to training to fight Stipe. So obviously that's weighed heavily on his mind. He's got the death touch, and look, he busted up Stipe. He just couldn't bring it home. I do believe that there's an ARB here. If you want to bet the fight, you could certainly play Stipe by decision and Ngannou by finish. And there's a nice little ARB built in there to make some money. I see those as the two most likely outcomes for this fight. So, go to your book and see what that ARB pays. But there's a way to potentially lock in some profit no matter which side wins. So I would look at that. But I'm going to pick Ngannou here.
All right, guys, that's it for the UFC 260 breakdown, a little bit shorter because we only have 10 fights, but we have hot takes.
Hang on, before we go to hot takes, can we reinstitute our tradition of last week, which is picking who you think is going to get the quick win?
Sure.
I will set us off. I'm going to say Khama Worthy takes this down.
Ngannou.
Let's go. God, I want to be a little different here. I almost want to just say Jamie Mullarkey, but that's not going to happen.
Say Gillian Robertson and get it over with.
No. That's I'm getting more and more concerned about my girl in that fight. I really am. Like I'm really worried about that one. You know what? Lord Michał.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, it's a good one.
An under-owned one. Hot takes in chat. Fire them up if you got any. We'll read a couple out. Anybody got one locked and loaded?
Not yet. I'm looking right now.
How hot is Mullarkey by finish? I mean,
none. Not even a little. Not even a little.
Really? I meant
Mullarkey. Oh,
I meant the other way. The other way.
Still no.
Really? I might have to check on that, but I'll take your word for it.
That's definitely
okay. So then, how about Gooden finishing Abubakar there?
Yeah, that definitely qualifies as a hot take.
Okay,
that's fine.
We'll take it.
Winning DraftKings lineup will have at least $1,200 left on the table.
That's nice. I like that.
Wow. That is something. I am close to my hot take. Kill some time here.
Let's go to chat while Joe's finishing up. Tajik, Woodley in the optimal. Power bar KO. It's power bar. Help me out.
Power bar is Marc-André Barriault.
Oh, Barriault. Oh, all right. That's all right. Clever.
Okay, I'm going to go.
Is that power bar filled with androgen?
It could be. That's how he got his last knockout. I'm going to go Gillian by sub plus 350. I think that's a pretty solid line.
Yeah, it is. And well, I mean, the thing is, Maverick's never been sub, but I mean, that's the way she wins. So.
Yeah,
right.
Definitely. All right, guys, make sure you go to rotowire.com/free, 10-day free trial to all their premium content, no credit card required. Like, comment, subscribe, follow all of us on Twitter. Appreciate all the support. We'll catch you for the next edition of Fight IQ for UFC 261. Good luck in those. Oh, God, Tajik, you judged. I'm doing the close, and you got to type that. 2 fights ended in a no contest.
Oh.
That is
let's we can expand on that. Eye pokes or groin strike.
So you know what? I said something on the DFS Army podcast the other day or last night. I also have this vision in my head of Stipe going for a takedown up against the cage and Ngannou going for one of the elbows.
Yeah.
And smashing the back of the head. And Stipe ending up unconscious and they actually calling it back of the head. And we get a DQ winner or no contest or something. Yeah. Something wild like that. Test account says Robertson wins. Single leg there all day. All right. Fair enough. I hope you're right because I was all about Robertson. The more I think about that fight, the more it scares me. All right, Tajik, I'm going to try to not let anything else screw me up. I like, comment, subscribe. I did all the fun stuff. Good luck in those contests. Knees for my boys. Good luck. See you next time.
Peace.
Thanks, everybody.